everyone, to season 4, episode 10 of the Hall of Fame show. And I'm Kirk Buchner, along with my co-host Evan Nolan, and we own the NotInHallOfFame.com, the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and of course, the United States Athletic Hall of Fame. Hey, have you voted yet? You can vote here, and there's no gerrymandering.
You missed my my 4.
Oh, you're 4? You can't see me?
As if I was from Iowa or LSU.
Well,
you were sentiment though because it looked like I was from Iowa. Sorry.
Actually, I guess we kind of both do, really, I suppose. And that actually reminds me of what the opening is. But our fourth project together is the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, where again, no gerrymandering, no ballot harvesting. See, there you go. I really sort of have problems with both of all your sides. Your country's the Spider-Man meme to me, but that's okay. Go now, www.
The good news is we're very good at kissing upside down in the rain. So
see, I just have pina coladas in the rain. www.nothalloffame.com/USA. But yeah, actually, Evan, I'm going to start off right away because this actually segues indirectly to, because I'm bringing back the smorgasbord. The smorgasbord of shit.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep doing this because I figure I know what we're talking. You didn't tell me, but I'm guessing that's probably what we're talking about.
Yes. I just want to first off say congratulations, LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Who won Action Night. I did watch that because I'm trying to keep up my promise of a 20% female sports, and that was it was a fun game. It was a fun game to watch. I think also too. I read somewhere, and I don't know if that's accurate or not because I didn't really go too deep into it, but that was the highest rated women's college game ever.
Yeah, it was high. There was a list I saw. Hold on, keep talking. I'm getting something.
So I believe that's the case, and I think a big part of that is unlike men's college hoops, where your top players are one and done. This isn't the case. Your best players are staying there for years upon year, for at least 4 years in most cases. You're able to sort of like build that, so like you get your number ones are almost more. The chasm between number 1 and number 5 is a lot bigger than in number 1 and number 5 in men's college basketball.
Sure.
And we're never going to see. I think the days of seeing like 4 number 1s in the men's side advance are probably long gone. Mm-hmm. Especially if Purdue's always a number 1.
Well, yes, that too. But like it's also a one and done world for college. So you're going to see a lot more of these teams that have people around for a while, and then with the there's now essentially free agency in college basketball too. Someone's unhappy where they are. They used to be having a 5th-year senior. Although I think what's his name, Timmy from Gonzaga is going on his 12th year at Gonzaga, as far as I can tell. Because he somehow still has a year of eligibility. But it's harder for the big programs to just hoard all the talent.
So it was a fun game to watch. I do want to know who dresses Kim Mulkey.
I will say for the semifinal, she essentially just ran through a field of like yard flamingos and punched her way through them, and it just like ended up on her arms.
She looks like somebody who grew up in Appalachia and is going to and she's wearing her best outfit to go to the casinos in Vegas for the first time. I don't know how else to describe it. But congratulations to her nonetheless. But I do want to also congratulate Jill Biden, not Joe, Jill Biden, because she united everybody. She united the Jamel Hills and the Clay Travises of the world, 2 polar opposites, into both thinking that Jill Biden should never comment on sports ever again.
Yeah. And I understand what she was trying to do, but it was so tone deaf.
No, she had no clue.
I know. What she was trying to do was like, this was like a great time for women's sports to get both teams. But if she had done it before the game, that's one thing. But the fact was after the game was problematic.
Well, this is a woman who has probably didn't have to compete for much, has a background of being a teacher, probably loves participation trophies, and that's kind of what she offered to do. You and I have met a lot of female athletes, some very competitive ones, and one thing that they all have in common with the male athletes is they don't want to lose, and they do,
Yeah,
and they
so
have
true.
pride. They do not want to go to the White House if they lost. So
Yeah.
I don't know, Jill. And the sad thing is, and I got no beef against her. I don't like or dislike her. I don't really care about her, frankly. But
Mhm.
it was a stupid thing to say by someone who clearly didn't know any better.
Mhm.
So let's just take it as that. But I think we've all agreed on something. She's united the country. So all those of you who were listening said, and you're big Biden supporters, yeah, and said, well, Biden can unite the country. Yes, only it was her.
Mhm.
I'll run with that. But it
Good
was
job.
a fun game to watch. So I do want to tip my cap off to them, and it made me
Yeah,
think in
so
general.
they had 9.9 million viewers for that game, which was higher than any Stanley Cup Finals game, and they went through like all the things that was higher than. It's higher than any regular season NBA game. Um, like it was basically one of the highest rated. It's the highest rated women's television program ever, or
Think of
women's
this too,
basketball program.
and it will, and none of this will translate into the WNBA, which has never broke a million.
No, although no offense to Bayou Barbie, who is a fantastic player, but Caitlin Clark
Mhm.
is good enough that guy athletes are like, I can't do what she's doing. We're like crossover step back threes from the logo is
Mhm.
not an easy skill that she seemed to have perfected. She is as exciting a player, although I think she still has one more year at Iowa. But
Not
she's as
sure.
I think she does. I think I heard that.
Mm.
But she will be as exciting a player going to the WNBA as they've had in quite a long while, maybe since Diana Taurasi, in
So
terms
Stephen
of
A.
overall.
Smith is already putting Angel Reese into the Hall of Fame.
Well, yeah. Again, nothing against Angel Reese because Angel Reese is also absolutely fantastic. I like
Right.
Bayou Barbie. It's
Yeah.
just some excellent nickname, and I did enjoy her. Fine, we'll just go see the Obamas instead. That was a funny line. Although LSU did accept the invitation to the White House today. But
I
no,
don't
that
blame
was
you for
it was
being
a
pissed.
fantastic. It was a fantastic game, and women's basketball has come a very, very long way during our lifetimes.
Next, yeah, when we don't have such a loaded show, I've actually come up with my 5 point plan to save the WNBA.
Ooh, this I would love to hear.
Yes.
Another day. We got a lot going on.
Yeah, that's going to happen when I'm going to put my name out for the commissionership, which means you will have a job as my wrangler.
I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm not
That
sure I
means
want
that mean that means
to.
anytime I'm going to say something colossally stupid or offensive,
Okay,
you're going to rank.
got
Yeah,
it.
yes. Your role will be to sort of stop that.
The got it. The reverse of Key's Obama translator, right? The
Something like that. Yeah. Yes. So yes, we do have a lot to get to. So first off, thank you, Vinny Lospinoso, for stepping in while you were in Arkansas. He did a great job, and we previewed and are predicted the Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2023, which was relatively easy to predict because once
yeah.
there really wasn't that big surprises. The only surprise I had, I'll save for later. But let's do you want to run them through alphabetically, or how do you want to go through?
Well, let's pull this up. My computer didn't open what it was supposed to. All right, there we go. Yeah, why don't we just lead with the headliners and go from there?
Sure. All right. So, basic 4 players voted in, and again, our biggest issue with the Basketball Hall of Fame is we don't know how many voters there are and how they do it and how they come up with that. Nevertheless, I don't have a problem with who they voted for and how they did
No.
this. Dirk Nowitzki, Dwayne Wade. I don't know if you want to call them co-headliners. I imagine, even though I had Nowitzki ranked higher than Wade, Wade will be the headliner because he's the bigger name. I would think.
Maybe. I
He's a
think
bigger
Nowitzki's a bigger.
cachet.
Maybe.
You know, uh,
And Wade did beat him in an NBA Finals. So
wait a minute. No, no,
then back
no,
with the Heat. Oh, it's the
no,
other way around.
no,
Beat
he is
him.
the
Never
other way
mind.
around. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, never mind. So no, Nowitzki wins. He's taller too. Although
Well,
Wade is
there's that.
more
But
physical.
so I'll predict if they do, yeah, Wade will headline.
I
I don't have
yeah,
a big problem with
they're
that, frankly.
headliners, and there's no question once they're nominated, they're getting in.
Right. And so like there's we've gone over their careers before. They
Yeah.
both well deserving, both champions on every level that you can that really counts in my opinion. I think they're both incredible players. I have nothing bad to say about their game whatsoever. Pau Gasol is joining them. A lot of these people are very much linked. So Pau Gasol, who I consider in the running for the best European player ever behind Nowitzki, also the best Spaniard player ever. And
Mhm.
so very,
Best Spaniard he has.
yeah,
Best European he had Nowitzki is
mhm,
certainly within the conversation.
yeah, and really fitting too because they just hung Gasol's number into the rafters. I believe a speech was given by Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's widow. So
Yeah.
it just, and I'm sure if you're believing in heaven or whatever, he's looking down in approval. So congratulations to Pau Gasol. Now, on last week's episode, I had Tony Parker as a 50-50.
Yeah. I
Parker,
have Tony Parker all the way. I think if we were
yeah,
if
okay.
we
See, I thought they might hold back, but
mm.
not knowing their process, I don't know how they think for that. Parker, I had no issues with him being in the Hall of Fame either as a first ballot inductee. Uh, I don't know. I wasn't convinced that he was going to get in right away.
Greatest French player of all time in the NBA.
Yeah. So we have the greatest
Um,
German, the greatest French, the greatest Spaniard. That's
yeah.
pretty impressive.
Yeah. And maybe the greatest player from Marquette. No, there's probably some from Marquette, I'm forgetting. But uh yeah, I wasn't surprised, particularly with the international side of this. It was usually if there's a situation in which there's like 4 or 5 people who might get in, they might have something like that weight, but there's legitimately 4
Because
male.
we've seen that before with Chris Bosh.
Yeah, but Bosch they held off altogether for even nominating. They didn't even nominate.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. They didn't
They
put him
held them all
on the
together
list.
because there's going to be, I mean, no offense to Chris Bosch, but who was ultimately he was elected on his first time in the ballot, even though his first ballot. But he's gone up against Kobe, Garnett, and Duncan. I mean,
Sure.
like he's not even the Ringo of that group. He's not even the George Best of that group. He's the like the announcer from the Ed Sullivan show of that group.
Wait,
Like
George Best. You mean Pete Best?
Pete Best.
Okay.
George Best is a soccer player. Or was a soccer player. Pete Best. Sorry, Pete Best. That's how important Pete Best is. I don't remember his first name. So yeah, so that's a whole separate thing with him. He was the nominated. They gave him his chance. He and Pierce were much more like even if Pierce had been up, I don't think Pierce necessarily fits in with Garnett, Duncan, and Kobe. And Pierce is my favorite Celtic of my lifetime.
Really?
So
I didn't know
yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah, 100%. So although there are a couple people who are creeping up with that, there's my love of Derek White is increasing by the day.
Mhm.
So yeah, even that. So I just think it was more give him the headline rather than make him an afterthought. So although Bosch was annoyed, it was probably better for him getting in that way.
Mhm. Okay.
Because it's a possibility they may not have elected Bosch with the other 3 up.
Well, that's very possible. We also don't know.
Why even put him in that position when he's clearly getting elected the next year when Pierce is the only person? So.
Right, and I'm sure he actually understood that once he got past the initial hurt. But I mean, I think if you're Bosch and you're looking at some of the people who got in on a first ballot, and maybe he's an athlete, of course he's going to have an ego.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he's probably looking. Well, wait, I'm better. I had a better career than Parker, which he did.
Right.
Not by
But I
much,
mean,
but he still did.
just like any Hall of Fame, DeMarcus Ware is probably a first ballot Hall of Famer, and it's all
That's
circumstances.
true.
Like it literally all just comes down to who's on the ballot with you, when, what are the politics of the situation,
Mhm.
and I just this ballot was too easy for Parker to get in. There's just there's no reason. Pau Gasol isn't a good enough player to leave Tony Parker off the ballot.
Fair.
So there's like there's
See what you're
Wade and Nowitzki. Wade and Nowitzki are like 1A, 1B, whatever order you want to put them in. I put Nowitzki first, but that's just me. But then Pau Gasol's clearly your third. Parker and Gasol aren't really that different in career. I mean, other than Parker has significantly more rings than Gasol does. So, yeah, and the Celtics then draft Joe Forte over Pau Gasol like they did with Tony Parker. Mm-hmm. So, not that I'm still bitter about that, 20 something years later. But no, all four of those guys are incredibly deserved.
Yeah, we have. I'm not bitter about drafting Andrea Bargnani either, but anyway.
Yeah, at the time, all the Celtics fans were like, "Great, we really drafted Joe Forte because we'd been hearing about Tony Parker." But it was Red Auerbach's last pick with the Celtics, just pounding the table. We're gonna have Joe Forte, so they drafted him, and that did not work out.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the great ones have bad aren't all there at the end, which will lead into something I'll talk about a little bit later. Yes. Popovich, Greg Popovich is in. No shock there. I think he was actually probably a bigger lock than even Wade and Nowitzki. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Architect of everything that was great in San Antonio, beloved by everyone unless you're Kawhi Leonard. And even then, I think Kawhi had bigger issues with other people in that organization. I don't think it was with Popovich so much. But once he's on the ballot, he's on. There was no way that he wasn't getting in. So it's very Spur heavy ballot because we also have Becky Hammon.
Correct.
So
still the only woman to coach an NBA game.
Mm-hmm. First, well, and a great player in her own right. And she, here's someone who could eventually get in again as a coach.
Becky Hammon, sure. Yeah.
I mean, she's already 1-for-1 in the WNBA because she led the Aces to the title.
Yep.
So, congrats to her. We also got someone who actually I thought was already in, but I guess I was mistaking that with the College Basketball Hall of Fame and Jim Valvano.
Wait, Valvano got in?
Yeah. When one of the direct elects.
Oh, interesting. I somehow missed that in this whole thing. Okay. Cool. I'm sorry. I don't know how I missed it. I'm reading it and I still don't see it. Hey, go ahead, talk about Valvano. Yes. I don't see it at all.
You don't have that? No, because he definitely got in.
Because I see Gene Katie.
Yeah, he got in too.
Why does Valvano is just like literally missing from everything I have in front of me? Continue. Keep talking about Valvano though.
Well, no, I mean just the great story of, and I'm sure a lot of us may have seen the 30 for 30 bit on him.
Spend their lives going where they need to be.
Jesus. Sorry, my computer keeps
So when he left, when he led North Carolina State, and still in his death, I mean, there's a lot of money raised off his name. So I mean, it's a very it's really classy. But one thing I noticed too, there's nobody who got in from the international committee. Like, did they?
I'm serious. I missed the direct one with Valvano and the 76 women's basketball team. For some reason, I didn't have anything that showed either of those things before. So I apologize.
No, all good. So, but yeah, that was one thing that's really interesting. And like, probably other than myself, Vinny, and a few other people, no one really I don't think anyone really noticed that.
Well, I mean, they did elect both Nowitzki and Parker technically. So maybe they felt that was enough.
But they actually still had finalists though that they let off with. So I mean, it's possible. You could be right, but it's a very interesting thing. And again, sort of like why I always have an issue with their lack of transparency, because there's no reason why that would happen. I mean, in your press releases, you had your list of nominees. Where are they?
Very good point.
So I don't know. So congratulations to them. I think though, next year there's only one lock, and that's Vince Carter, which is a great ballot for him because Vince Carter, as a Raptors fan, There's a lot of negative things I can tell you, and all of you already know this, so I'm not going to belabor that point. But Vince Carter is going to get in as a first ballot Hall of Famer, but there's nobody else that really has that cachet who could probably get in. So this could be really good for people who've been considered before, like your Chauncey Billups. This is his chances have just skyrocketed, I think, because he's been a finalist before.
Probably. Hold on, let me pull up my other thing here. Yeah, so yeah, this is definitely a very good situation for him. I'm trying to see who else they might have here who
Sean Kemp has done him no favors because this was his best shot is next year, and that's not going to happen now. Or it's a lot less likely, I suppose. I think also too, he
Kevin Johnson, Marquez Johnson, a few of them still out there.
Yeah, so when you've got some names who have been considered before, who now won't have nearly as many obstacles in their way.
Bernard King. No, he's in. Sorry.
He's already in. Yeah,
he's already in.
So
this is my one spreadsheet I haven't done a good job updating. So anyway, continue.
Yeah, so no, like I think it could be really good for a lot of those guys. Maybe some people who haven't really been thought of. I think Mark Aguirre, I believe, was a finalist at one point too. I could be mistaken on that. But it wouldn't surprise me that you're gonna. I think Vince will be the headliner, obviously, for next year. It's who's going to be with him, and that's wide open. There's never. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say there are a couple other people that you left out from the map because you know who they were. But like Gene Bess, who is the all-time winning coach and two-time NJCAA Coach of the Year. David Hickson, two-time Division III national champion. Gary Blair, 2011 national champion, two-time Final Four participant, 852 wins. So those are the other ones.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Have everybody in there.
Yeah. So yeah, I think next year will be very, very interesting. WWE just had their Hall of Fame, which has been the less pomp and circumstance that they've ever done. They actually just did it right after SmackDown. So we've already sort of like discussed them as they've been nominated or inducted. Rey Mysterio was the headliner, along with the Great Muta, not Tori Wilson, Stacy Keibler. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. Who is the other one? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
What's his name from
Andy Kaufman. Yeah, Andy Kaufman, and the announcer,
which is, by the way, the easiest slam dunk in the history of the WWE celebrity wing.
Absolutely. Well, Cyndi Lauper and Muhammad Ali are really big for me too.
That's true too. But I mean, maybe they're just waiting for Andy Kaufman to finally die before they put him in.
Well, there was that 30-year grace. I guess they were waiting for.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Right. So. They also gave the Warrior Award to Tim White, the late Tim White, who was a referee for that company for many years. Now, they also did not do a legacy wing. We, again, have no idea what's going on there. I'm going to do an early elevator down. Not that long ago, when Vince McMahon was forced to step down, I said, everybody is an elevator up. He's pretty much back now. So everyone is now an elevator down.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They combined this week with I sent you that link.
Yeah. Basically, it's with the company, the Endeavor, which owns UFC. So I mean, it's a natural partnership. And I've said this before, which got taken by noted wrestling journalist Dave Meltzer, who used that elsewhere, even though I tweeted that to him, and then he used that multiple times. Give me credit, Dave, that Vince McMahon is essentially the Al Davis. Genius in his first half and descending into madness right after, but still made money, still was tripping over money in spite of himself.
He looks like a bad guy from a bad telenovela right now. He's like,
seen that new mustache?
Black hair, grease black mustache. Like his face is all tight and tan. Like he seriously looks like, I don't know. It's disturbing to see him.
it's very disturbing to look at him. Everything about him is very, very creepy right now. I don't know what to say. I don't know what his thought process was in that look. It's not a good one, I'll say that.
No.
But hey, kudos to you, I guess.
Yeah.
More money than we'll ever see.
True. Well, maybe not. Give us
Maybe
time.
not. Maybe not. Well, there's a pretty good chance that that's going to be the case.
It ain't over till it's over, my friend.
I only concern myself with happiness, and I'm very
Mhm.
happy, and that's all
Sounds
that
good.
really matters to me. So either way, congratulations to all of them, to the
And
newest inductees to both of those halls.
And sorry, just speaking, very happy for an inductee to a hall.
Mhm.
Today the committee met for our favorite, or one of our favorite team halls, the New England Patriots.
Mhm.
Had their committee meeting today, and as part of the meeting, they have a whole bunch of Patriots luminaries in the room and writers and stuff like that. And one of those voters, who's on the nominating committee, is a man named Dante Scarnecchia, who
Mhm.
was our offensive line coach for a very, very long time. And as Bob Kraft walked in to greet everyone, he let everyone know that Dante had been elected as the contributor to the Patriots Hall of Fame, which is fantastic. There have only been, since the Pats Hall of Fame was redone in 2007, there have only been, I believe now, 4 contributors who are put in there. Let me double check that as we're speaking. Gil Santos, a longtime announcer for the Pats, who died a few years ago. Billy Sullivan, the original owner of the Pats. Actually, and now Scarnecchia is the third. So there have only been 3. How they get elected is Bob Kraft decides they want to get in. He has a contributor wing basically to himself.
Mhm.
But everybody, literally everybody's in favor of Scar getting in. Legitimately was the mainstay. He was there through Parcells, through almost all of Belichick. He retired for a couple years and then came back. He was there for, I think he started with Ray Perkins as the coach.
Oh wow.
He was there with, like, Rod Rust. He lasted through coach after coach after coach because he was so good as an offensive line coach that nobody got rid of him. They didn't care. They didn't care who they used before. Scarnecchia just stayed. And so just great to, he's 75 now, still doing pretty well, but he's actually officially retired. We were like, what took so long? And I think it was they had to make sure he was actually retired. Because last time he retired for a couple of years, couldn't sit that long and came back. This time he's been out for 3 years officially. And like, okay, we'll get him in. He's not coming back at this point. But
Wait, I mean, a Hall of Fame can actually have rules and stick to them?
yeah, it's weird. Everyone's like, how come you didn't put Brady as one of the finalists? Well, first of all, I'm not sure Brady is done. And secondly, the Pats literally make everybody wait 5 years. It doesn't matter. 5 years from when you're done, you're going to be there. So they'll announce next week the 3 finalists. The people they looked at were Julius Adams, Pete Brock, former coach Chuck Fairbanks, the highly underrated Russ Francis, Logan Mankins, Lawyer Malloy, the highly overrated with his time with the Patriots, Bill Parcells, John Smith, Mosi Tatupu, Mike Vrabel, Bill Wes Welker, what people considered. My guess is it's going to be Mankins and Vrabel, who were the 2 finalists last year who didn't get in. And I'm hoping either Malloy or Francis, but it wouldn't shock me if it's Welker either, or Parcells coming up again, in which case, and I think at this point, even though he's coaching another team, it wouldn't shock me if those are the 3 finalists as Vrabel gets in. If Russ Francis gets nominated, I wouldn't be shocked if he was actually the person who got elected. So probably the most overlooked. Hey, his teams are so bad, but he's such a great tight end. And he just has forgotten his whole thing. So.
And he finished 4th in the WrestleMania 2 Battle Royal.
Did he really?
Yes, he did. The last football player left.
I did not know that.
Yeah, well, his dad was a pro wrestler and promoter in Hawaii.
Huh, well, good to know.
Which, so eliminated by the Heart Foundation.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
this is good information off the top of your head, my friend. I need spreadsheets. You just have
Yeah, well, I also missed 3 basketball Hall of Famers, so because I was
Yeah,
focused
that's
on
okay.
other things. So, yeah, I'm not gonna pat myself on the back just yet. So was it a? Oh shit! I forgot to send you something. Ted is when Vinny stepped in for you, I was describing the Beige Mistress.
Hmm.
Ted made actual a painting or like a digital painting of what he envisions as the Beige Mistress.
Oh, fantastic. I hope it looks like a villain from the late 1980s version of Where the World is Carmen San That's really what I have imagined in my head.
No,
Like okay. Like a
no.
32-bit character, slightly better than 8-bit, but not the 128 and beyond.
So yeah, I'll have to send that.
Okay,
I'll send
I'll
that
need to see
over.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the Beige Mistress was active. Sama Zako passed away at the age of 79, Hungarian rower who
I got
competed.
that last week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I missed it. Well, then she was fine.
Okay.
Nothing else. I haven't actually had a chance to listen to last week's episode.
Okay.
So I've been trying to catch up at work. So if there's anyone who I go over who you have, I didn't get anyone who I previously sent you. So just tell me to stop if there's anybody who I'm adding in here unnecessarily. I just want to start with someone who has something in a different Hall of Fame than we've ever looked at, the Games Hall of Fame, which is run by Games Magazine, which elects games very irregularly.
Like
But
gamers or games?
what?
Like gamers or games?
No. Games Magazine does like board games and things along those lines.
Oh, okay, okay.
So in order to be elected, you have to be 25 years in print and a few other things. But one of those games is now called Catan, used to be Settlers of Catan. And the creator of that, Hans Tuber, passed away at the age of 70 earlier this week.
Why'd they change the name?
Everyone just was calling it Catan.
Oh.
So they remember that. So
Never played
he actually created 4 different games. He's one of the people who is on the leading edge of like the German board game thing, which has changed the way gaming is done quite a bit. So, but he was a dental technician and started making games on the side, and that's what ended up making him all his money. So you never know. On a personal level, someone who I actually interviewed once passed away, Barry Goldberg, who was the coach at American University when I was there, one of the most successful women's volleyball coaches ever, at least on the East Coast. Women's volleyball is dominated by West Coast teams. And American, despite being a very small school, is surprisingly very good at women's volleyball. So he was the Colonial Athletic Association Coach of the Year when I was there. Then they joined the Patriot League, and when they're in the Patriot League, which they moved to in 2001, they won 14 of the 16 championships between 2001 and 2016 for the league. So one of the truly great coaches in women's volleyball, had over 700 wins. But unfortunately passed away from cancer at the age of only 61 earlier this week. So I interviewed him. I actually, believe it or not, had a television show at my school called, or I was one of the people who participated, called Spotlight On, where we interviewed people around campus who were somewhat well known. I interviewed Miss DC as one part of that actually once. Sonia Kavankar, who applied for it because her friend wanted to do it and didn't want to go alone. Someone else showed up, whatever. She showed up in baggy camo pants and a army green tank top, and somehow still became Miss DC. So, but
How come that's not on your IMDb page?
Surprisingly, not much of a circulation for Spotlight On.
Okay.
So, from wrestling, Bushwhacker Butch passed away at the age of 78. I'm going to leave this to you.
Yeah. Was never a fan of those guys, but the Bushwhackers, I was in the minority. Yes, I was in the minority because everyone seemed to love them. So they had a run in the WWE or WWF at that time from I believe 89 to 95. But at that point, they were already in their mid 40s. when they got there. Before that, they were called the sheep herders, and they were almost every match they had, they would just sort of like try and gouge out opponent's eyes, whatever. They were a bloodthirsty team. They were completely different than when they became the Bushwhackers. Probably a lot easier, and why they were able to keep doing that for as long as they did. So WWE Hall of Fame class of 2015. Yeah, I mean, can't say that I really cared for them for the WWF version, but when I saw old stuff of them before that, it's a completely different team. Long, long history. He wrestled, oh God, he started wrestling in the 1960s, but really didn't make it anywhere until the mid 80s, like where he was finally making some good money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and good on him for being able to do that. It's yeah, it's pretty sad, but it sounded like he had a great life though.
Mm-hmm. Little known fact, back when I cared about wrestling in the 80s for a long time, we had summer camp, day camp. We had a sleepover every once a summer, and every group had to do a little sketch. And for reasons I still don't understand, we did a sketch about the WWF at the time. And then two other people were the Bushwhackers, and we were the Bees, where there's a group called the Bees.
The Killer Bees.
Killer Bees, that's what it was. And I had a backbreaker done on me, a fake one for 8 or 9-year-olds in front of a fire, and almost got dropped into the fire as part of it by the guys pretending to be the Bushwhackers. So that's about all my memory of the Bushwhackers that I really have. So anyway, okay. I take it you covered Jerry Green last week.
We did.
So I'll make sure that he was covered. We lost a couple people from horse eventing, equestrians for the U.S. Olympics. Charles Huff Jr. won a bronze in Helsinki in 1952. Passed away at the age of, doing the math here, 88. And Carol Lavelle, who won a bronze in Barcelona in 1992, passed away at the age of 79.
Oh, wow. Okay, so she would have been a little older than when she won.
Yeah, I don't feel like you have to be a very young person to do equestrian stuff.
Did the horses get anything?
Another day away from the glue factory.
I think I saw a comedian say, like, the best job ever is to be a racehorse. Like, especially, if you're good, then like right after, your reward is you're put out to stud.
Yeah.
That's your job. Your whole thing now. Okay, I've won all the titles, and now I can pretty much legally screw any horse that I want to.
It's a dream,
maybe that's not quite that way, but they can. Again, their job now is just to fuck. It's an awesome gig.
Yeah. Well, based on that, here's a good name. We also lost Craig Breedlove this week at the age of 86.
I know that name. Who's that?
Professional race car driver, 5-time world land speed record holder.
Okay.
First person in history to reach 500 miles an hour and 600 miles an hour on land.
I didn't even know that's possible.
Yeah, apparently he strapped a turbojet to the back of his vehicle.
Right.
So he is a member of the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America, also the International Motorsports Hall of Fame and the Automotive Hall of Fame. And the Beach Boys song "The Spirit of America" was written about Breedlove's land speed record, which he set in 1963. So the first one, he reached 407 miles an hour in the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah, then 468, then 526, then 555, and finally in 1965, 600.601 miles per hour.
What's the record now? Do we know?
Usually don't know. Let's find out.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the fact that man lived to be 86 is kind of amazing. Current land speed record is 763.035 miles an hour.
All right, I get that's gonna be my YouTube thing tomorrow. I'm just gonna like look.
Gotta find out. It's done by. I feel like if you farted at that speed, you'd launch your vehicle into space. I'm trying to figure out who did it and when it happened. Here we go. Hold on. This is important. This is good. This is good content here. October 1997. That was achieved over a 1 mile distance. It exceeded the sound barrier. So done by Andy Green with a twin turbofan jet powered car.
I'm sorry, I'm just blown away by this.
Yeah, you would be blown away by something like 760.
No, I guess so. I mean, when I watch Back to the Future, I keep thinking they're slow down. Yeah, I drive like a grandpa.
No, hate to say anything. I was gonna make a joke about your name, or your age, but you know.
Yeah, but I can't. I'm not gonna. But I'm not a grandpa. I'm not even a pa.
You're your own grandpa. All right. Anyway,
Get off
we
my.
lost a few people for football. So Ronnie Lee, who was an offensive tackle for 14 seasons, mostly with the Dolphins, Falcons, and Seahawks, passed away at the age of 66. Played in 186 games, starting 120. Also had 25 receptions during his career. Also, Gene Derricott passed away at the age of 96. One of the first African-American collegiate athletes, one of the first ones in the history of University of Michigan, actually still holds the single-season punt return average and punt return TDs, career punt return TDs in single season in the history of Michigan. He still holds those records set in 1947, which is pretty amazing. He also used to lead the Big Ten in punt return TDs, but someone broke that in 2004. But he was 96 years old. Also passing away, John Brockington was the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 1971. Two-time first-team All-Pro, two-time second-team All-Pro, three-time Pro Bowler, member of the Packers Hall of Fame, running back for the Packers from 71 to 77, and spent also part of 77 with the Kansas City Chiefs. He passed away at the age of 74. Frank LeMaster, member of the Kentucky Pro Football Hall of Fame, one-time Pro Bowler in 1981, a linebacker mostly for the Eagles from 74 to 83. Also spent an offseason with the Niners for retiring. He passed away at the age of 71. But I think probably the biggest name from football, Bill Levy, who was the official for 2 Super Bowls, including Super Bowl XL, which is the one that had one of the less well officiated. That's the one where they called Hasselbeck for a chop block when he's making a tackle on an interception. That Steelers Seahawks game, but he passed away at the age of 76. Pretty much everyone else I have here is from music. There are quite a few of them here. So country singer Ray Pillow, who I'm not that familiar with, but hit the.
We talked about him.
Oh, you did? I apologize.
Yeah, because he had that. What was that one hit? Because it made me chuckle.
I just closed it.
Oh, okay. I think
I
think my dog died or something. Like the most.
I'll take the dog.
I'll take the dog. Okay, it was close.
That's what it was. Yeah, for a breakout, which is better than you normally make out in a country song.
It would be.
Yeah. Did you do Tom Leadon from Mudcrutch?
No.
So Tom Leadon, one of the founding members of Mudcrutch, the original band for Tom Petty, passed away at the age of 70. He's also the brother of Bernie Leadon, who used to be the banjo and guitarist for the Eagles. But he passed away at the age of 70. Howard Kane, lead singer of Jay and the Americans, passed away at the age of 77. I was trying to think their big hit.
Was it Come a Little Bit Closer?
Come a Little Bit Closer, that's right. Yes, so come a little bit closer, you're my kind of man. Yeah. So he passed away at the age of 77. Sweet Charles Sherrill, a member of the JBs, the backing band for James Brown, who were elected in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in their own right, passed away at the age of 80. He's an electric bass player, mostly for them. Philip Balsam passed away, probably best known for composing Fraggle Rock's theme song. Canadian. He passed away at either the age of 79 or 80. Apparently, there are parts of Canada that didn't keep birth certificates in 1943.
Huh. Okay. I wonder what part of Canada that would be.
There's a joke in there. I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah, I think I was making the same one in my head, and I kind of
yeah. Did you do Keith Reed? Did you do Keith Reed from Procol Harum?
I did not. No.
He is the guy who wrote Whiter Shade of Pale. He passed away at the age of 76. Peter Shelley, who was had a couple of hits in England, was better known as a producer over in England, had a bunch of bands over there. He passed away at the age of 80.
Okay, yeah, the first when you were saying that, like, what, Pete Shelley of the Buzzcocks? But
no.
Okay.
Nora Forster passed away at the age of 80. She is the person who basically financially supported the Slits, the Sex Pistols, and the Clash when they were starting out. She was married to John Lydon of the Sex Pistols. But she passed away at the age of 80.
Is that still your favorite Masked Singer reveal? Or was it?
I don't know. Dee Snider this past week was pretty good.
Okay. I don't watch.
I don't watch it either, but when Dee Snider, all I saw was he came out of like
a
creepy female doll, a creepy like haunted doll. Dee Snider, I thought that was pretty cool.
I thought you watched that show.
Not anymore. I gave up when when Rudy Giuliani was on.
Okay.
So soul, blues, and R&B singer Peggy Scott Adams, known as the Little Lady with the Big Voice, passed away at the age of 74. Another one of those people who has a whole bunch of gospel hits. She has, from 96 to 2012, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15 albums that she released during that time period. So she passed away at 74. LFO only has one member remaining. Do you remember LFO?
Is that's Summer Girl? No,
Summer Girl. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to change the lyrics. The New Kids on the Block had a lot of hits. Because was not the original lyric. There's a little bit of New Kids on the Block sucked a lot of yeah, so New Kids was from Boston. LFO was from New Bedford, one of the poorest parts of Massachusetts.
Is that so you can turn on the Boston accent anytime you want, can't you?
Come on, guy. Of course. I can pack my caveat with the best if you need to. Forget about it. Not forget about New York, but like, you can't pack your caveat because they'll torture that.
So, why do I feel the sudden urge to find a Samuel Adams?
It's your cousin from Boston. Yeah. One of my guys at work accused me for being New Jersey a couple days ago, and it went very, very, very badly. But anyway, so Rich Cronin, the lead singer, died back in 2010. Brad Fischetti passed away. I'm sorry, Brad Fischetti's alive. Devin Lima passed in 2018, and now Brian Gillis, who was replaced by Devin Lima, passed away at the age of passed away in 2023 at the age of it is not giving it to me.
What did he die of? Does it say?
He was 47.
I didn't realize they were that close to my age.
Yeah, Lima died of cancer at the age of 41. And Brad Fischetti is still touring with O-Town. So, keeping LFO alive. But, anyway. So we're down to one member of LFO. There were only ever 4, 3 at a time. So anyway, he was 47. And I guess the biggest name this week, Seymour Stein, member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame since 2005. The executive who signed the Talking Heads, the Ramones, the Pretenders, and Madonna. But other than that, he wasn't a good judge of talent. Yeah, but he passed away at the age of 80. So there was there was a pretty big outpouring when he passed.
Yeah, because I think I saw a documentary on the Ramones, and he was sort of like comparing them to the Beach Boys. Might have been him, might have been someone else. I don't know.
As Joe Ramone said, we had a lot of really long songs. We just played really, really fast.
Love it. So. Okay, so now we go into the elevator.
Elevator up, elevator down.
Elevator up, elevator down, where I look at the last week and say, who's had a good week that helped their Hall of Fame chances and who didn't? And I'm going to just stick with basketball, and I'm going to look at, my evolution, because I've been sort of like talking about who I thought was the MVP of the year through the NBA season. My first half MVP was Luka Doncic, which I would stand by, and then I thought Tatum was making a bit of a case, but then the person who I predicted at the end of the year, who I think will be the MVP, Joel Embiid. I think it's going to be his now.
I think it will be. The other guys, the other 2 he's up against have won it already, and there's a little bit of fatigue for giving it to Doncic 3 times in a row.
Right, and because the other player we're not mentioning is Jokic.
Who, sorry, not Doncic, Jokic is right.
Yes, who would definitely, if he wins, it wouldn't bother me if he won a third one in a row.
My problem with Jokic is he does not play defense, like at all, and both Giannis and Embiid play a lot of defense.
Well, and I think he's gonna get his due for that. Jokic, I think Jokic is a better defender than you give him credit for, but I mean he's not James Harden level defense.
I mean he's a 5 or 6 out of 10,
which is better than some MVPs.
Fair.
Yeah. Fair. Saying that, I opened up with Doncic because my elevator down is Mark Cuban. Because I know he's not the GM. That's another gentleman whose name Nico something or other. Because it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's not like he was in the building anyway. Because I think it's a relatively new gig for him. But Cuban is a hands-on owner, and it was a stupid trade. You said it. I said it. It didn't make any sense. I also said that Doncic can only take a team so far when your second best player is Spencer Dinwiddie. He's not a bad player.
Yeah.
But now you traded all that depth. Because now your drop off from Kyrie to I don't even know who you'd consider their third best player. Tim Hardaway, Christian Wood.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's Christian Wood, but that guy.
Right. So you gave up way too much to get a guy who's not going to be there at the end of this year. There's no chemistry between them.
Yeah, and they gave up Dorian Finney-Smith, who was a bigger part of their actual defense than I think they're willing to admit.
Yeah. Also, too, I mean, look how Brunson's lighting it up now, too. And they let him go in New York.
Well, he came out today and said that they were given a chance to sign Brunson, that he was going to New York the whole time. And they just never got a chance.
Now, I like Mark Cuban. I talked to a lot of people from Dallas, and they seem to love the guy. I mean, he really cares about that. But sometimes you just make dumb decisions. And Dallas is going to take some time to recover from this one.
Here's my question for you about Dallas. Why do no free agents go there?
I never thought of that. That's a great question.
I mean, Dallas is
a very good question.
Dallas is a pretty good city. It's warm. They have no sales tax, but they always keep cap space for people who don't show up.
So you're wondering, like, what do we know? What don't we know about Cuban?
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird because I understand, like, no free agents came to Boston for a long time, for Al Horford, and then we signed Gordon Hayward, and Malcolm. Well, we traded for Malcolm Brogdon, but he wanted to come here anyway. He was going to sign here, and they did a signing trade. But Like just no one would come to Boston. We get it. High sales tax, cold, everything closes at midnight. I get it, right? But Dallas is none of those things. It just seems strange to me that nobody really wants to go sign there. It's a strange situation.
Well, you got me. I don't know.
Yeah, this is interesting. So it's also possible, by the way. You brought up the front runners for the MVP.
Mhm.
I think 4 of the top 5 very well could be non-US born players. Certainly the top 3 will be. I think it's pretty clear Tatum's going to finish 4th.
Yeah, no,
It's like there's the top 3, then there's a gap,
nice.
and then there's Tatum, then there's a gap,
Yeah.
and that 5th spot may very well go to Doncic. And there you'll have 4 of the top 5 non-US born players, which is interesting.
The only other person who can creep in and get in there is also a non-American, and that's Shea.
Yeah, SGA is.
Yeah.
The one game I went to this year was Bulls Thunder, and he was just so freaking good.
Yeah, so like he'll finish top 10. Who else would be? Well, Morant's not going to get any love at this point.
No, I mean, it depends how you feel about Curry. He hasn't played enough games, but he may get some love too. He's been playing ridiculously for as long as he's been.
Curry could, yeah. No, yeah, that's actually a pretty good point. We should look that up. Has this ever happened before that the top 10 vote getters are mostly non-American?
Yeah, you got to figure.
It would have to be.
You got to figure 5 or 6 of them are going to be not U.S. born players.
Yeah, I think that's good. Oh, I have a bet proposal for you.
Oh, good.
Okay, so
okay,
yeah, because I always lose. Which will also, since with my track record, and for those wondering, oh crap, I forgot to promote something.
Oh, promote, please. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yes, I forgot all about that. So if you're gonna bet like me, don't bet against Evan because I always lose. But this is something that you could actually all play along with at home. Because here's the bet proposal that I'm gonna make, and I'm gonna make some other bets myself, and I'm gonna do that through the help of an app called BetStamp, and they're our sponsor for this show. BetStamp is if you're a gambler, you want to go on you probably might use different sites, and if you're gonna do any kind of shopping anyway, you're not just saying you're gonna check out a Honda, you're gonna check out a Ford, I don't know, whatever it is you're gonna do, but you're gonna go from dealer to dealer to dealer to get the best deal. Same thing. So if you're like, so let's say Evan's favorite team is the Celtics, and he says, I think they're going to win the whole thing. Evan is going to try to figure out who's paying the best odds. And that's what BetStamp does. It's a one-stop shop for all the gambling companies. If you've seen them on TV, they're going to be a part of this app. So you go on there, you see who's giving the best odds for that, and then you bet away. And if you're going to do that, use our promo code BUCK25. Easy to remember because it's Buck. The buck stops here, and 25 because it's half my age. Also, maybe you'll win a $1.25. So
good. Very well good.
Yes. So here's my proposal that I'm going to give to you. You take the Celtics and the Bruins, and I have everybody else.
Ooh. That is an interesting one.
You can just sit on that for a week.
Let me think about that, because the Bruins, of course, they won again tonight against the Leafs. So they now have 127 points with 4 games left to go. So they need to get 5 points or 6 points their last 4 games here. But the NHL playoffs are just so wacky that, I'll just take it. What the hell? I'll just take it.
All right. Cool. What am I down 6 beers?
5, I think. I think you made one.
Yay. Look at me.
Yeah. So, but I think that I like the Celtics' chances. Although if we play Miami in the first round, that's going to suck because they always.
So I guess we also have to establish basically you can only win if both win, and I can only win if both lose.
All right, fair. Otherwise, it's a push. Fair.
Yeah. Otherwise,
I'll put it this way: I will be very happy with the push. That means that one of them won.
I'm sure you will. It's like Pauline asked me like, why are you cheering so hard on something that I forget what it was for teams you don't care about? Because I want to win a beer back.
Yeah. So
those beers will taste as good as my tears, huh?
They might.
Yeah, so that is pretty much what my predominantly elevator down. I already sort of touched on one earlier with Vince McMahon, with the WWE, because like it's the morale has gone to crap. Oh well,
Yeah.
so be it. I was gonna like say other things stemming out from the Final Fours, but like the Mavs implosion that I think most people saw coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how Mark Cuban didn't know that this was going to happen, because this almost always happens whenever you get two stars playing together. It takes them a while to figure it out. Michael Jordan came back from baseball. Bulls didn't win that year. They had to relearn how to play with Jordan.
Yeah, it's also why at the beginning of the year the Celtics went 25-5, because their whole team was basically the same while everyone else is figuring it out. The same guys that played together like the better part of a decade. So at the beginning of the season, if you know what you're doing, you're going to rack up wins. As it gets harder during the season, and other people start figuring it out, it's harder to do.
That's why there's so many upsets in men's college basketball.
Part of the reason, certainly,
Yeah,
but also history has shown adding Kyrie Irving to your team over the last 7 years has not been a net positive for your team.
Kyrie's such an interesting person. I've been watching more Marvel lately, and he is a supervillain because there's a lot of great things that he does too. I mean, like the charity work that he does is.
Do you think he ever gets the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame?
I don't know.
Here's a comparison for you. Let's just say somehow it's Kyrie up against Rajon Rondo. Who gets in?
Kyrie's got the better stat line, but Kyrie's imploded everything around him multiple times.
I think Kyrie's, by the way, I think Kyrie's a significantly better player than Rajon Rondo. I just think that the fact you even have to think about that shows you how far Kyrie has fallen. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
but yeah, right. Another All-Star this year. I mean, and he's not gonna save the Lakers. LeBron knows better. No, he doesn't know better. I've already said he's the worst executive in basketball, even though he doesn't have that title.
Well, maybe he'll end up in Dallas with Cuban. So we'll see how that works.
No. Well, wait a minute. Okay. How's is Bronny eligible to the draft?
He has one. I think he has 1 year of college, or 1 year, or whatever. Right? Isn't he at that point? I think it's the one. They didn't change the one and done for the for college entry. You have to be 19.
How old is he now? 18?
He just graduated. I think he's 18.
He's just 18. Okay, because he won.
I think he's graduating high school in May.
Yeah. Because from what I'm understanding, it's not like he's like a top 10 guy right now in his age class, or is he? He's good, but
I don't know. So he's certainly no Wembanyama. Did you see that play?
No, I haven't.
He's like 6'10". He did a step, dribbled between his legs, step back three that he realized was short, ran in, got his own rebound, and stuffed it directly off the rebound.
There's so few of us who can do that.
It looks CGI created, but as one of the top guys who does CGI is like, I don't think you can do that in CGI. Like, it's just insane. He misses the three-pointer, just goes in, one hand, windmill, dunks it directly off the rebound, off his own missed three-pointer.
I'll have to check that out.
That dude is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we go to my good, bad, and ugly, or bad, ugly, good, or good, whatever order we're doing?
Yeah, that's how we always close. Evan's good, bad, ugly of the week.
So we will start with the bad. So the NBA has come up with several ideas in order to try and stop teams from tanking. They've changed on the lottery. They've made the play-in tournament for more teams being in it for the whole period of time. What they haven't done well is that right now we have teams that are tanking for seed. right? So there was a game last week where the Clippers were playing with the Clippers, Memphis, and the Clippers were played very well first quarter, didn't play that great second quarter, 4-point game at halftime, and Kawhi Leonard is looking like vintage Kawhi Leonard this game. I actually happened to see this game. Second half happens. Guess what happens? Kawhi Leonard doesn't play anymore.
Yeah.
For undisclosed reasons. They end up losing that game. They announced after the game he's going to play the next night. They end up losing that game too. But they're basically, people are trying to avoid the 4 seed and the Phoenix Suns with their in, right? Yeah. They'd rather take their chances with lively but untested Sacramento team in 3 and doing stuff like this. So this whole randomly resting players and everything, I know they try to work on that with the awards. They have to play 65 games, stuff along those lines. I get it, but like they got to do something about it. It's not ugly, but it's just bad when you're sitting people to intentionally lose games. So one of the things that people have been talking about, which is something they did in the old D League before it became the G League, was the top 3 teams can choose their opponents in the first round. And that way you just keep winning because you don't want the number 1 seed to choose you. You know what I mean? So there's incentive for everybody to keep winning and not be able to just fall their way into a spot to get who they want to play. I like the idea. It's one of the things they didn't bring in, but I think it's a great idea. And then, like as a couple people have said, it builds natural rivalries. Like there isn't a rivalry right now, let's just say between like Memphis and Minnesota. Oh, there's one between Memphis and Minnesota. Memphis and let's pick the Clippers, right? Let's just say Memphis and Clippers, they don't have any sort of rivalry as far as I can tell. Memphis picks the Clippers to play a playoff series against you, instantaneously build a little bit of bad blood between them. I love the idea. I love the idea it stops this mini tanking. They've done a lot of good work in stopping a lot of the tanking and a lot of putting stuff in, but they need to go a little bit further. I'm just saying it's bad. It's not awful. It's not the worst thing in the world. Right. It's just sort of, particularly when there's money being wagered on these games. So, and they have betting partners now. That's a big problem.
Which you can utilize on BetStamp with your code Buck25.
Making it up.
Better late than never.
So that's the bad. I'm gonna go with the good next. I'm gonna praise another hockey team. So my Bruins are doing fantastically, but for a long time in the 80s, hockey, you routinely have multiple 100-point scorers, and then you got your point for many years where the top scorers in the league were scoring like 75 to 85 points because of all the rules, everything. They opened that up again. But the Edmonton Oilers this year have gone absolutely above and beyond. McDavid's got 148 points. That is insane. For where that's basically back to the Edmonton teams of the late 80s.
When I was a kid.
Yeah. Second in the league, Draisaitl with 123. And you're like, oh, they play the same line together. They're both centers. They don't necessarily play together. And then Ryan Nugent-Hopkins just hit 100 points. Another center just hit 100 points earlier this week. So they have, in the league right now, there are 8 players, excuse me, with 100 points. They've got 3 of them on their team. And they are very exciting to watch. I watched them play Anaheim last night. And granted, Anaheim is a terrible team. I believe they're a negative 100 and what is their?
They're not very good.
No, their goal differential needs to be mentioned though, because the Bruins are a positive 121. The Ducks are a negative 124. So granted, they're a good team to pad your stats against, but that is just incredibly impressive. I hope they do well in the Western Conference playoffs. And I hope that they lose to the Bruins in the Stanley Cup final, because that would be super fun.
It would be a rematch of 1990, I believe.
Yeah, that did go well for us. It was a 4-0 sweep. So, yeah, we lost. Well, as a kid, my teams kept getting to World Series or championships and then losing. That was a thing for a while.
Wow.
There's a
You're
tough
lot
time
better
for
than me.
Boston sports fan between 1986 Celtics and the 2001 Patriots, where we just kept losing in the championship games. So anyway, I
You've
know
seen a lot more titles than I have.
yes, you're crying for me on the inside. I can talk.
Oh yeah.
And finally, I just want to talk about a problem. I'm going to talk soccer here for a second.
Mhm.
The ugly is Italian soccer. Italian soccer, many places in the world have a racism problem, right? The Premier League, there are a lot of conservative commentators who get annoyed that all the players in Premier League for the last 3 years have kneeled before games
Mhm.
to say there's no place for racism. And you'll hear Nigel Farage and his ilk talking about how this is somehow attacking Britannia and their flag, right? But Italian soccer takes the racism to a whole new level, particularly the fans.
Okay.
And earlier this week in the Coppa Italia, Romelu Lukaku, who's one of the great players in the world, is on the latter part of his career, but Belgium's big scorer, scored a extra time penalty shot goal. And the fans at Juventus were making monkey noises the whole time. And he responded after scoring by doing this, saluting and putting his finger to his lips.
Mhm.
He added 2 things to the fans and walked away. He got a yellow card for excessive celebration and was thrown out of the game because the second of the game he got red carded.
That's all he did?
That's all he did. He did this, that, and then when the referee yellow carded him, he's like, "What the hell?" to the referee. The Juventus has been given a partial stadium ban for their next game. I'm not quite sure. I think that only like half of the stadium can come. I don't know. It's a Coppa Italia, so it's a home and home. They're playing Inter Milan, so their next game is at Inter. So it was 1-1 after that game. But they've got to clean up that because it's the same thing. Mario Balotelli, who was born in Italy, dealt with this all the freaking time, particularly from Juventus fans. They are some of the most racist in Europe. They got to figure this out. They can't have it. Rock Nation who represents Lukaku, came out with a big statement about this. Honestly, I'm talking as someone who's never been in that situation. But if my teammate were facing racist chants and
I know you wouldn't just salute.
I would introduce the referee to my knuckles. Even if that gets me banned for a while, I wouldn't care. So like the referee throwing him out, what the hell? They need to figure that out. They need to rescind the red card, first of all. That needs to be rescinded. This, which by the way, he did in a game against Sweden, in the
Okay, so this is something he's done.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Like saluting and putting your finger to your lips is not excessive celebration anywhere in the world. Like Barry Sanders, who used to hand the football back to the referee every time he scored, would not think that is excessive celebration. So I don't know what the solution is, whether they play without fans. I don't know how you solve racism, but they got to figure out something because nobody should have to deal with that and then get yellow carded for it. Come on, what are we doing?
I don't know. I guess sometimes maybe because you don't see that. Well, if you were to do something like that in North America, I'm trying to come up with the right words here. Like, well, that person would be banned. Period. If they did that to any player.
I mean, certainly the league would ban him. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about like any of the 5 big sports. Like I'll throw MLS in there.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you put MLS in there. So
okay, no, I can't fathom that ever even happening here. don't even think if that shit even happened in my life. I'm sure it did, but
I don't know. The Tennessee legislature just had a vote today to expel 3 of their members
yeah, I
who
saw
stood
that.
up for gun control, and they expelled 2 of them and saved the third. I'll give you a guess. The race of the 2 got
I
expelled, the rest one who didn't. Like this stuff
Oh, wait a
happens.
minute. Oh, so 2 were expelled and 1 wasn't?
Yeah, the 2 African American men were expelled, and
I didn't see that.
the white woman was saved by 1 vote. It was unanimous for the black men, and the white woman was saved by 1 vote. And they asked what the difference was, and she said, "The pigment of my skin." Is literally what she said on camera.
That's why I
So, I
think
mean,
still Biden at the start. She was a very unifying presence for a very short period of time.
that's what you need.
Yeah.
But just like so, this crap happens, but
Yeah.
not in sports anymore. 100% not in sport. Well, not overtly in sports.
Okay. Or we could say it still might, but that person will face penalty. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even look what happened when we talk about, which I don't think was necessarily racial, because I think she heard something incorrect. Was that during the women's volleyball in BYU?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which probably didn't happen. I'm not saying that she didn't think she heard something, but there were repercussions on an event that didn't happen. So if it did, that person would be would be doxxed
Probably.
at the very least, would be unable to probably gain any kind of meaningful employment, I would think.
It would be more difficult, but I mean,
Right. But clearly in Europe, there's none of those issues, because that thing that you described, I've heard that so many times before in countries in Europe. Why that happens there, I don't know, but it does. But yeah,
it's not just Italy, because like
oh no.
Serbia has been banned during game, like has had home games banned because their fans have been racist to people. And it happens in Spain. Like it happens all over the place.
Poland and Ukraine, when they hosted the Euros, I read a few articles how they were really petrified what their fans were going to do.
Well,
which is which is bizarre in itself, because you'd think that maybe 2 countries in Europe that would have said, maybe we shouldn't sort of like be really racist towards other groups, even if they look like us. You'd think it might be those 2 countries, but it isn't, and it wasn't, and whatever.
I mean, Serbia's racism is why Yugoslavia is now 7 countries. So
I had a very good friend from Serbia, and as much as I really liked him a lot, yes, I'll leave it at that.
yeah, I chased a girl there once. Believe me, I know.
You chased a girl?
Yes.
From Serbia?
No, she was an American who was working in Serbia. But
oh, okay, interesting. You'll have to tell me that over a beer that I will be probably paying for.
I chased her to the city of Novi Sad in 2005. So there you go.
All right. Interesting. Well, with that, I think that brings it to a close.
On that note, with my ancient dating life going.
Well, usually it's me who shares things that shouldn't be shared. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
So with that, the show is over, but we invite you to look at some of our other shows. Eventually, the next episode of How the Hell Did This Go #1 will come up. We looked at Hall & Oates' Maneater.
Oh, man. It's the first song I'm ever hearing on the radio. I think I've
really? Okay.
Yeah, my 2 best friends when I was a little kid, Kristen was Korean, adopted by a white family, and Mindy was Colombian, but very light-skinned Colombian, and adopted by an Asian woman. And I had thought they had switched parents at one point. But I remember specifically playing tag and the 2 of them chasing me around. I must have been 3 or maybe 4. My earliest memories of being chased around by 2 girls trying to tackle me to the man-eater because they were pretending to be monsters. You only 8 boys. And I was the only boy.
When they were chasing you, were you going, "Oh, here she comes"?
Probably.
So that'll be up soon. There's 2 recorded from the show that I do with Chris Burnett, which is This Crap Was on national television. So they'll eventually come up. We'll get there. It's just I always have to add a little bit of video stuff, and or get
Yeah.
get my webmaster to do that.
And an apology right now. I still need to get the lost episode of this show up that I did with Jack. So I'm working on it. I'm back now, so I'll try and get it out this weekend.
Well, I've been so busy with a couple of things that went on in my personal life, and then I had to revamp the football list, which maybe we'll talk about that next week because that's completely. We can look at the new top 10, which has a lot of seismic changes considering how many people got inducted were on the top tier of that. Also, the basketball one, which is almost done, but that one's a lot easier.
Yeah. Cool.
And then God know, and then I have to work on the WWE one, which I'll let that one sit for a bit because I'm not as inspired with that product right now. Thanks, Vince.
Yeah, I understand. Well, Vince is going to have some say in whatever you do. You do what you do, and then Vince will come up with his own list.
Yeah, well, who the hell knows? Not, I'll never. That one makes so little sense. But what are you going to do? And also, Vinny has got Vinny Lospinuso, not Vince McMahon, but Vinny Lospinuso has done a great job for us with Vinny Makes the Hall of Fame case for. And check those out. He puts a lot of effort into a lot of those cases that he made. The last one was for someone who did not make it on one of the senior ballots or committee ballots, rather, Max Zlowski. So check that out. With that,
that was someone who next year's basketball may actually help. With just Vince Carter.
Yeah, but he'd be in that veteran group.
Oh,
right?
yeah, the other one. Yeah. Never mind. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, like
you're trying to wrap up. Just keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, with that's pretty much all I got. Also, to the retro football show where we look at Super Bowl III, that's going to eventually go up too with Paul Lawrence. So check all that out. We've got so much stuff that we're working on, so much stuff that even though I'm sort of pudgy, I'm spreading myself pretty thin. There's a lot of work for somebody considering that I pretty much sit at home all day here atop Mount Manitoba.
There you go.
Yeah. And it's also been a lot quieter because the dogs are being dog sit because we were supposed to go to the Red Hot Chili Peppers tonight in Fargo, but Snow decided to have some other ideas with that. But I let them stay at the dog sitters because Winnie's driving me crazy.
Well, we may be getting a dog here soon, so we'll see how that goes.
You want this one?
I don't know if she gets through customs.
I don't know when I drove Jasper across country because I drove through Minnesota, then crossed through in Windsor. Your customs agent was really diligent with Jasper. So here's the two questions that because I had a corgi. Here are the two questions that they asked when I crossed the U.S. border. Where are you going? Is that a corgi? That was it. And then after that, I said yes. And then I'm just sitting there like, oh no, you can go. All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
think that might have been my white privilege in action there.
Nice.
Or not, I don't know. Or someone 10 days before retirement. Who the hell knows? Either way, wherever you are, wherever you may be, stay safe, everyone.
Take care, guys.